So I gotta talk about this god awful movie. And that's why I'm recording this review at 10 o'clock at night, because I just got done from watching it. And man, what a disaster this movie was. And I can't believe this movie was as bad as it was. Because I didn't know anything about this movie other than Luca Guadagnino was directing it. I love him as a director. He makes really good stuff. And, I loved his last two movies, Challengers and Queer, and a couple other movies he done. I don't love everything he does. I really hated Bones and all, but usually when his name's attached to something that's pretty good. And then you got, the cast of this movie. Aubrey Devry, I think I'm pronouncing that name right, and I forget the lead actress's name. She's super famous, but I can't believe I'm forgetting her name. Then you got, Andrew Garfield in here, and so I was like, okay, great. They had an Amazon Prime early screening for Prime members, which I bought a ticket for. And I ended up being the only person in this theater for the 7 o'clock Amazon Prime early screening of this movie. And after watching it, I can totally see why. This movie is awful. There is no if and buts about it. There's moments where I liked the direction of this movie. Maybe some of the lighting choices felt really good. There's a moment where a character... Hey, my dog is in here. Give her a sec. There's a moments in there where I love the lighting and the direction. There's a moment in this movie where this character feels very cold in the way she treated somebody. And so the lighting reflects how she feels. And it's just, simple things like the direction, which, isn't amazing direction. It's, stuff that, really good directors think of, but it isn't something like out of the ordinary. It's still good though. But other than that, there's nothing really I enjoyed about this movie, because this movie, for one, the biggest problem with this movie is, I think something that is really starting to bother me. Why do we keep getting movies about sexual assault stories about women that, don't get me wrong, need to be told, but why are they coming from men? Why are they not coming from women who deal with these things, or people, female directors, It's not to say that men haven't directed great movies about this subject and can't do it, but it does feel like some of these movies are feeling a little more isolating, because I'm listening to a man tell this story. Yes, there are women starring in this, acting this out, but it does feel like, what are we doing? And also, this movie is one of the worst stories I've seen about this, because there are no likable characters in the story. The person who's the victim of the sexual assault that happens in this movie, her wants and reasons for doing things aren't good, and she's shitty. Her teacher, who's her mentor in this movie, is the way I almost would describe it, is also a shitty person. And she takes up large portions of the movie. Andrew Garfield's character is the person who commits the sexual assault, and so he's not likable. So nobody in this movie is likable. And this movie's like 2 hours and 20 minutes. And I know what you're thinking. Well, maybe it's highlighting this issue of sexual assault. Maybe it's trying to put a spotlight on that. First of all, I'd argue, even if it was doing that, there are better movies that do that. But the other problem with that is, it's really not. Because, like I said, this is a movie that once I got to the end, I realized certain motivations of certain characters and why they're doing things I don't really want to say too much about. It made me flabbergasted that this movie got made with these ideas. Also, this is a movie that also is at arm's length, because this movie takes place on a university, so there's a lot of characters giving lectures and using very big, large-mannered words like that. We don't just use in our everyday. So it felt like these characters were always at an arm's length and not really someone I could really feel for or care for, and it just felt so mean-spirited. Also, this movie's ridiculously long. This movie is almost 2 hours and a half. It's like 2 hours and 20 minutes. What the fuck? Why is this movie that long? Because this movie is about something that's just not fun to watch a movie about. 2 hours max. But even that was pushing. There were so many scenes where it just sat on shots. And you're going, why is it sitting here so long? Are you going to move to the next thing? And it just wouldn't. And just made the movie feel so fucking long and mean-spirited. And I never want to watch this movie again. It almost is so bad of a movie that makes me think that the guy who made it is like some like guy who maybe just shouldn't be directing movies. But it's Luca Guadagnino who makes good stuff. But now I'm really going to have to think twice with this and Bones and All, because I'm not really sure what either of these movies were going for or saying. But at least with Bones and All, I got the point of that movie where it overall, which is trying to make you uncomfortable. And it definitely made me uncomfortable. But in this movie's case, it's just fucked up. I just can't.